bounty hunting is a complicated profession.
It
Almost
is.
as complicated as doing this.
Yeah, this
Zoom.
all at once. All at once, all
Zoom
from different
podcast.
places.
Yes.
Zoomcasts. That's going to be a new thing. It's our
Zoomcast.
Zoomcasts.
It
And we
sure
are back
is.
with yet another Zoomcast with a
We
Banter.
are.
What's the name? I sometimes, it's been so long, I almost forget. It's Banter, Beskar, and Bantha. It's a long name. Anytime anyone asks me, what's the name of your podcast? I'm like, write it down. Just write it down.
Get out a pencil because you're going to have to write this down.
We are a Mandalorian podcast usually. And by the way, I will talk about a little bit of Mandalorian today because my dad just started watching Mandalorian and he really likes it. It only took me this long to get him to watch it.
Awesome.
But we are back once again with another Corona update for you. We are socially distanced.
My beard is growing in.
It is. Look at Rob's beard, man.
It is full.
I had nothing before this.
Yeah,
Now
this is a purely Corona beard. Meanwhile, I've been growing this for months. Just getting out here. Chris right there. He's just look at him. Chris is all of our good looks right in that corner, top left corner. If you're looking, it's right there. That's
Every episode that Chris is in, our
we
female
get way more
viewership
views.
goes up.
It's weird.
Yeah,
it's really
amazing.
strange.
It's amazing.
How you doing, Chris?
Or
Welcome
men,
back.
it's 2020.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's right.
It
All
doesn't matter.
are welcome. Yes.
That's
So
right.
we are happy to have Chris back yet again. How many is this for you, Chris?
This is only my second one. I've been berated on one for not joining.
That's right.
So,
We do that.
So I mean, like
That is correct.
2.2.
We do that.
There you go. We
He's gonna
talked
have-
about you a lot on one, and you were
He's going to
on
have a
too, so it
Kanye
worked out.
moment. He's waiting. In the middle of this thing, he's going to be like, listen, now that I'm here, I have this to say.
We're renaming it.
That's
Chris, and Chris. That's the
That's
name of the
right.
show.
Well, it'd probably get more hits on Spotify, but life goes on. So we are back. First of all, we want you to check out our social media like we always ask you to do. What do they say? What are the three? Like, comment, subscribe?
Like, comment, and subscribe
That's
down
the thing.
below. You got it. And we have a
Right, down
YouTube
here.
channel now as
now
well.
we have a
so
YouTube.
sure.
If you're listening to this on your daily run or jog, as a podcast, we are creating this Zoomcast and uploading it to YouTube, to our YouTube channel. So check us out there so you can really see what we're talking about when we're describing just how handsome Chris is. Because he really is a handsome guy. You poor guy.
It could be worse.
Guy.
It could be worse. I mean,
Yeah, you could be
make
sitting here
fun
just
of
talking
her
about how ugly I am.
Yeah,
I mean, right here.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know whose screen that's pointing to.
Chunk. I know. In my view, you pointed to a black square, so it's perfect.
That's
in
right.
your view, and what everybody's seeing from your recorded angle could be completely different. I
Yep.
hope it's not me.
So we're on Instagram, Bantha Milk Podcast. We are on
Yes.
Twitter, Bantha Milk on Twitter.
Yes.
Facebook, Bantha Milk Podcast. We are banthamilkpodcast@gmail.com. And what's our YouTube channel? I should probably know that. I think
Bantha
it's
Milk
Bantha Milk
Podcast. Yeah.
Podcast.
So
That
if
would
you
make
just type
sense,
in
right?
Bantha, if you type in Banter, Beskar, and then just hit enter, you'll find us.
Yeah, we'll be there.
So,
we'll be there.
we'll be there.
We gotta really tinker with those algorithms or something.
Yes, and we
gotta
have to
figure that
tinker
out.
with getting more viewers. Too.
Yeah, and that's
So,
where you come in. Right?
me. Not me. You listening. Yes.
The viewer. The listener can't get the gesture. I'm gesturing now at the Chris, can you do me a favor and give me a live commentary of all the gesticulations throughout? Just
Sure.
for the,
Like
just for the listeners.
He's got like the Donald Trump accordion here. Every time
Right,
his hands go in and out.
Oh boy. So after you check out our social medias, you should come back on May 4th because we're gonna have a super show.
Super show on May 4th. You
Talk
heard
about
it
the
here
super
first.
show, Rob.
And what does
I'm
that
going
mean?
to talk. It
I don't
means
know.
we're still in the process. We have less than a week to figure it all out. But basically, here's the deal. We're going to have every guest that we've ever had on the show again. We invited our good friends Dave Filoni.
Dave
and,
Filoni.
He was invited. Who else did we invite?
He's a maybe. He's still a maybe.
He said he's trying to find his way in. It's really tough to find us now using Zoom.
Yeah.
For
Pedro
him to
Pascal's a
join.
no. Pedro Pascal has another
Pedro's
Zoom
out.
call.
Yeah.
He actually has a weekly drinking game with the Game of Thrones cast, and so he can,
He does.
can make it work.
So he couldn't come. No.
Yeah, but we will have me and Rob. Sorry,
Yes.
we're here every time. Take it or
We're
leave it.
here. Unfortunately, you're stuck with us.
We also will have Pagan, and a superstar. She might be our most featured one yet.
I think
Tom's
so.
catching up though.
Tom's
Tom will be
catching up.
there. Chris
Yeah.
will be there.
Chris will
our
be
good
there.
buddy Brian will be there.
Brian.
So it's going to be an all-star cast. I
And-
hear Sir Alec Guinness just might make an appearance.
He might make an appearance.
And if
C3PO
he
might be
doesn't-
there.
If he doesn't, your beards will be there because at that point, just less than a week, they're going to be sentient. So
that's right.
That's right. Okay, so we should probably talk Star Wars now, right? Is that what we're talking?
Let's talk Star Wars.
Well, before we get to that, don't we have to talk about the Bantha milk?
Yes.
What is our Bantha milk? We didn't really come up with a Bantha milk of choice today. I'll tell you why. Because number one, it's really hard to get at the liquor store right now.
Yeah.
It's just like I don't really like leaving the house. But I do.
Yeah,
I went in my
I don't
hammock
want to
today.
go anywhere.
It was great. But anyway.
But I don't want to venture off of my property.
But the great thing about having a podcast wherein you drink is that I've got a bar full of just stuff. Just to kind of have
all
fun with.
Leftover stuff.
Yeah, so
that you can make any type of compilation out of.
Yeah, my dear wife made me one of our highest scoring, if not our highest scoring drink of all time, the Whistling Bluebird.
No, so
right
jealous.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Pagan.
Yes, thank you.
So what do we got here, guys?
So I'm drinking a local brew, Tonewood. Local brewery here in beautiful Garden State.
Right down the street from Tonewood. It's great little
Speaking
place.
of local breweries, our good friend who keeps chatting with us on Facebook, we talked about it before, how he had the beer, the Mandalorian named beer. I forget. I'm so bad at this. So whatever he named it.
Take better notes, my friend.
I know, right? I have a whole list of notes about what we're going to talk about.
In Rob's defense, he couldn't find the headphones on top of his head earlier. They were like,
that is true.
Right,
they were up here.
About,
I was looking all over. I couldn't find them anywhere.
Yeah,
so he won a contest where he got to name a beer, and he named it after the Mandalorian. They brewed it a while back. He sent us pictures of the beer. He got it. He said it's delicious. They did a little more tweaking to it. They did some dry hopping and things like that. Nick knows all about this stuff. He's a big beer guy.
All about the dry hopping.
He's a big fan of the dry hopping.
Yeah.
So so just wanted to throw it out there.
Wasn't it based on like kind of a mango base, like Mangolorian or something?
Mangolorian. There you go. Very good.
Chris knows more about our show than the hosts do.
He can remember things.
I've done 3 rounds of yard work listening to that particular episode. So
there it is.
Thank you very much.
See, not only is he one of our most frequent guests, he's also one of our biggest listeners because there's about 17 of you out there. But Chris is one of our
Chris
top.
Keeps listening. Chris is pulling up our listens by listening to our shows over and over again. I do appreciate that.
But Chris has been doing some very nice yard work. So I'm glad we could help you get that done.
Yes, we'll help him. And we can help you too, the listener, get through the day.
Right. You. Tell your friends. Tell your family.
Yep.
Want to get yard work done? Listen to
our podcast Beskar, while you do it. That's right. And tell your friends to do the same thing.
I built a bar. I redid my outdoor shower, and it's all thanks to this podcast.
There we go. So thank you, Chris. Thank you for listening.
Can you make sure you write that down? That's going to go on our...
Yes.
Yeah, there's just got to be a little disclaimer at the bottom that says none of the improvements are structurally sound. You may want to consult a professional before
you forgot to use screws on all of them. It's just
listen, that's an important step.
Put together. Yes,
that's an important
you got to
step.
screw it all together.
Oh boy, Chris, we didn't get to hear about your Bantha milk.
Yeah, tell us what you're drinking, Chris.
So I'm just I don't have any fancy name or anything. It's just straight Jack Daniel's. It's the new honey brew that they've been doing.
Okay,
and
nice.
It's very enjoyable. It's
and
nice.
I will tell you, I know, Chris. That's a heavy drink for you, my friend.
It really is, and I typically don't go for most hard alcohol. I'm not a beer guy. Usually I'm stuck with just wine, but this is quite nice. It's really smooth, not too sweet. It's still got that nice rich flavor, but just Chris, sweet enough that I don't get pulled back.
Just do me a favor. Nice. The endorsement check from Jack Daniel's hasn't cleared yet, so just hold off on talking him up too much until that check clears. You know But if you're listening, Jack Daniels, look at that face. Look at that face. He could be your spokes guy, and we will ride those coattails. That's fine.
Notice how Tonewood doesn't even care that I'm holding up their beer, but Jack Daniels is writing checks out to Chris right now.
That's right. I mean, I would write that guy a check.
Mm-hmm.
I will write. Hold on. Okay.
Well, you're finding a check real fast. Also, while we're talking about social medias, I want to talk about my latest little thing here.
I love that
YouTube channel, only on our YouTube channel. I mean, I guess we could share it on Facebook exclusively on our YouTube channel. This just came out from Lego, not even a month ago. They have a whole set of.
Hey, why don't you go ahead and tell the people who might be listening at home and not watching what you're holding up?
Oh yes, this thing that I'm holding.
Chris, that was Chris, aren't you supposed to be doing that?
Yeah. Come on, Chris. And I've only had 2 sips of the beer too, so this
Oh,
is really
Lord.
I'm an hour in, so yeah.
So in my hands is a Lego Boba Fett helmet that is a new Lego series. They have Boba Fett, they have a Stormtrooper helmet, and they have a Darth Vader helmet. It, according to the box, is about 8.5 inches tall. There was like 600 pieces to it. I did the whole thing. I recorded the whole thing. It's on our YouTube channel. I did it in like fast forward, that time lapse thing. So you can watch me quickly put this together. It's like a 5-minute video or whatever it is. But it's pretty cool. You know how I feel about Boba Fett, and obviously how we feel about The Mandalorian. So as soon as my son told me about this, I immediately bought it. They have a couple other Lego blockheads of The Mandalorian and the Child, but they're not released until August. But they're on the website now. You can pre-order them, but they're not coming out till August.
Man,
this one came out, so I bought
Star Wars has been pulling that garbage for 40 years with the
my
pre-orders and stuff, man. Just give
from
me
the
what I
very
want.
the very
give it to
first
me
episode.
now.
Yep.
It's messed up.
So,
but that helmet is, in fact, a very good segue into what is the meat of our show, which is the latter half of the Clone Wars. And I will say once again that if you're watching this and you have not watched the Clone Wars, you're missing out. Yep. And
yes.
especially after this last season, you're missing out on. And Chris said it to me because Chris actually saw this before I did. Mm-hmm. And when he said this sentence to me, I was skeptical, but I believed him because he's a trusted guy. Look at him. I trust that.
Look at him. How can you not trust that face?
Just for the people at home, we are pointing the handsome man over there. So he told me that might be the best thing in Star Wars I've ever seen, like the best Star Wars I've ever seen. And he is right.
He is right. I
Especially
agree.
The last 2 episodes were some of the best Star Wars I've ever seen.
Yes, 100%.
Those last 2 episodes were better than some of the movies. I would rank them higher than some of the movies.
And you know what? I went last night, my wife and I went and watched The Rise of Skywalker. And I only got a chance to see Rise of Skywalker once in theaters. I wanted to go back. It just didn't work out in my schedule. I was really busy at that point in time. And so I was really excited to go back and watch it again. And I had just watched those 2 episodes of Clone Wars and then followed it up with Rise of Skywalker, which of course is the ultimate finale of the Skywalker story. And I watched it and I went, that was good.
yeah.
But I wanted to go back and watch Clone Wars again.
Yeah.
Here I'm sitting there and I'm wanting to see an animated version of a Star Wars story rather than the quadrillion $1 budget of a feature film.
Yeah,
so that speaks to it.
But I'll tell you, I think a large part of that is because they've spent the entirety of Clone Wars and Rebels like figuring out the animation thing. Like you look at some of the fights from like the first season. Like one of my biggest gripes about Clone Wars from the beginning was the lightsaber battles all looked cheesy. Everything was super fast, like looked really animated. But and we'll talk a little bit more about why this lightsaber battle looked so amazing once we get to there at the end. But they have perfected it, and it looked like the lightsaber battle that culminated at the end of this season looked better than any lightsaber. I thought I was watching Duel of the Fates again, like with Maul and Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. Like it was that good.
It was that good, exactly.
But we will talk about that when we get to the end because we got to start at the beginning. We ended with the last couple. It was the first 3 episodes. We saw some of the Bad Batch.
Right. So let's do
By the way,
also.
this our highest rated drink here. Still holding up. Still holding up.
Still holding up. Still the highest rated.
I would say so.
Excellent. So we're going to start off by saying spoiler alert.
Yeah, if you didn't see the Clone Wars,
season 7 came out 10 weeks ago now.
Yeah.
So we're gonna give
you had no excuse not to watch at this point.
Yeah, you've been home every day for 10
What are you doing?
Like, yeah, what are you doing? I've watched all 10 episodes twice already. So if you haven't seen it yet, then shame on you. But anyway,
watched all the episodes once and the last 2 episodes at least 2 or 3 times.
At least 2 or 3 times, yes. Yeah. So it starts off. We talked about the Bad Batch when it first came out. We were talking about it a little bit. So the season 7 starts with the Bad Batch, which were those guys. Nick. I remember Nick said that the leader of it looks like a Rambo-ish type of guy.
They're the island of misfit clones.
Yes. So they were Clone Force 99. They're named after a malformed clone named 99 from ARC Trooper in 2010. So that's where they got the name of their thing.
Wow.
Each member has a skull and the Arabesh numbers 99 on their armor somewhere. A couple of them, I think Punisher, whatever his name is, Wrecker has it like really big. He's got it really, really big. So real fresh. Oh, one thing that I did read facts about season 7. Every main character has smaller eyes now than they did previously on the Clone Wars to make them look more like the Rebels. Boom, mic drop.
Interesting.
Yes. So I don't know how much smaller, but apparently their eyes are smaller now than they were before.
Interesting.
Which I'm also going back and rewatching Rebels again. And
I'm doing that right now.
Yeah, while I liked seasons 1 through 3, I thought they were good. Season 4 is when the storytelling really picks up, and season 5 storytelling is amazing, I feel.
Yeah.
So we can talk about that. Anakin looks older now. Nick, we talked about that before. About
they all have the updated models to look like, and for a reason, to look like they did in episode 3.
Yeah, because now we're getting towards the end of this, which is leading closer into episode 3. The troopers in 99, they have mutations. Sergeant Hunter is their leader. We know him. He's the Rambo guy. Wrecker, he's our strong man. He's huge. Crosshair.
And afraid of heights.
And afraid of heights.
That's right.
Which is really funny. Because he's super big. He's not afraid of anything except for heights.
Which is a problem when you're flying in space, I'd imagine. Because what is space if not height?
You're inside a ship. So there's really nothing to look like you're going to fall into. You're just in nothing.
Except the empty black abyss of space.
Right. So are you really falling? You're just floating at that point.
That's more of a philosophical question, I guess.
It sure is. We could spend hours on this.
What do you think, Chris? Chris is the scientist among us.
I think it would take hours. And again, what do we have to do right now? So here we go, everyone.
Here we go. Let's go. Bring out the chalkboard. Start writing
things
down. The 4th member was Crosshair. He was the sniper. He was everybody. I feel like everybody has to have a sniper now. With DC has the what's his name? Will Smith played him in one of the movies.
Sharpshooter.
Yeah. Trick shot.
Dead shot.
And then
Hawkeye.
So whatever. And then they have the tech guy, the skinny little geeky tech guy who can hack into anything. So those are the
That's
4.
You.
That's me. And yeah, I can hack into anything. So they're the troopers in 99. It was 4 episodes long. I thought it was good. They had to find Echo. Like one of the regular clone troopers, they realized that
they tapped into his brain, right?
They were tapping into
battle plans.
Right. The Imperials were figuring out everything that they were doing because they tapped into a clone that they had captured brain. And then they were just, seeing what he said that they would do. So they had to save him. So it was cool that they had to save him. His name was Echo. You guys want to add anything?
Echo, who later became a member of.
Right, as he finishes.
Yeah.
Talk about a morality thing. So, was it Cody? Who's the leader of the clones?
Rex.
So Rex is determined to find Echo because he feels so bad about leaving him behind.
Is it Rex that was leading that hunt? I know Rex was big in it. I'll look it up. Keep talking.
So one of the Rex, I think it was Rex. I think you're right. So he's like determined to find him because he knows he left him behind, and it's like leave no man behind type thing. He finally goes. They save him, and then as soon as they save him, he's like, "Yeah, I think I'm going to go hang out with these guys instead." Like, I don't know, Chris. If you were lost and Nick saved you, would you come hang out with me instead of hanging out with Nick?
Yeah, but the concept behind it is that Echo doesn't feel like he belongs anywhere anymore, and I think there's a maturity to Rex's character to recognize that and understand where people need to be. And I think that's why Rex is such a great character, because here is this clone, he's supposed to be the same as all of his brothers, thousands upon thousands of them. Yet there is something special about Rex that isn't really noted, and Rex doesn't really recognize it himself, but I think the Jedi do. And that's why they gravitate towards him, because he has this intelligence and this this extra sense about things that allows him to know what's the right thing to do in the right situation, rather than just go and trying to win no matter what.
That's a pretty big theme throughout the Clone Wars, I feel like, is the clone. And that's, I think, one of the great things about Dave Filoni, and one of the reasons why, especially after this season, I hope they just give him the keys. Just do whatever you want. Because, like, he was able to take what was ostensibly a plot point, right? The clones were, hey, there's this army of clones. Let's use this to push forward the story about the Jedis with the lightsabers, right? They were just used. And he took these characters that really weren't supposed to mean anything and, like, humanized them and made them interesting and made them deeper than they could have been, right? Like, without Clone Wars, those clones are just, what different are they than the droids?
Right.
They're pretty much
They're
the
just
same
human
thing.
versions of the droids.
Right, like
and
expendable,
like
the same.
In the movie, in episode 2 of the movie, I feel that's how they were really, like, portrayed, as basically just human versions of droids.
Yep.
That they were, like you said, they're just expendable. They're just out there. Throw as many of them out there as we can. Keep making more of them, and we'll win by having more clones than they have droids.
Yep.
So I definitely think it's awesome that they did give these just faces great stories now.
Yep, absolutely. Yep.
So the Bad Batch ends. Echo goes off with the 99 guys, and then it's like, okay, story arc done, new story arc, and that's when wrap a bow on it, put it away, and then this is when we see Ahsoka again. So everybody's excited about that.
Who by the way might be my new favorite Jedi.
Yep.
Yes.
And who, by the way, by the end of this season, I would argue is a Jedi Knight now.
Oh, has to be.
Well,
absolutely. And she would not call herself that, right? Because when we see her later, she says, "I am no Jedi," which I think is the absolute coolest thing, because what she did at the end of this season made her a Jedi Knight, a fully fledged, like, this is, any Jedi would see this as, you are now a Jedi Knight. This was the trials. And she chooses not to be, which I think is just great.
Even how the clones see her when she comes back, when we get into
absolutely
the
that's into the final arc of that last
in that final arc, but yeah.
So wait, before we get into all that, let's focus on the middle section of the series.
Yes,
so we can
talk Thank you. That's why you're here, Chris. Is to get
Chris has got to keep us on track.
Yeah.
Before he suddenly runs off and uses the restroom, he's got to make sure he keeps us on track.
It's the little things.
That's right.
So here in the middle section, and when we first meet Ahsoka, we see her. She's flying a speeder bike that breaks, falls apart.
Yeah, she had she had bad luck, man. Like, she just, and Coruscant is really high.
Yes.
Like there's a lot of height to those buildings.
Tunnel. They're like down in a tunnel going deep into Coruscant.
Yeah.
Which you see ships, they're just continuously just driving around in that circle. And I was just wondering, where are they going? Because the circle's big, but it's not that big. So I'm like, you're just driving around in circles. Where are you going? So
it's like Jersey. I mean,
yes, exactly. Yeah, you get stuck in a loop and then you just keep going. You can't get out of it. And I think that's how all those people wound up down in the underground of Coruscant.
They ran out of gas.
They got into that loop, they ran out of gas, and they were stuck there forever.
Like, where are we? We're in Vineland. What's that? I don't know. Just keep going.
We're still in Vineland. All right, here's a house for sale. Let's move in. So she meets two people, Trace Martez and her sister Rafa, while she's down in Coruscant. And so we finally see her.
Who really, like, kind of, to me, seemed, and I like them, but they might have been the laziest part of the season, because they were almost cookie cutter characters.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Here's the rough and tumble girls who are growing up on their own. The older one's raising the younger one. The older one
she doesn't trust anyone.
Right.
The younger one trusts everyone.
It just seemed a little lazy to me. But, I mean, it moved the plot along. But, Dave, next time.
Even the end of this story arc, I thought was lazy as well. When we get to the end of that, I'll talk about that. I'll refresh the lazy writing in this section as well. So, yes. Oh, fun fact. When she loses control of her speeder, she runs into a Snivarian. I think I said that right. A Rodanian, an Ithorian, and an Aqualash. They were flying other vehicles. All 4 of them were based on the 1979 Kenner toys, and when they were the toys, they were called Blue Snaggletooth, Greedo, Hammerhead, and Walrus Man.
Rob does his research.
I do a little bit of research. Yes. So then
Rob has his glasses on his face now, so you know he means business.
Yeah, because I need to read what I wrote. So we see those 4 characters 2 more times throughout the series. When she realizes that the robot that they say they'll fix is a basher robot or whatever he does, where he just runs around the city and just breaks everything. As the robot's running around, those 4 people are in the streets again, and they're like, "Whoa!" And then we see them also at the end of that first episode of this 4-episode arc here.
Just so little 4 Easter eggs they like to drop.
Little drop, yeah. So that's fun. Gone with the Trace, Deal No Deal, Dangerous Debt, and Together Again are the 4 episodes of this. So
essentially, to boil it down, they do something dumb. They stumble, right? Ahsoka stumbles upon them. Then they need to like make money, and they like steal spice, right?
They steal spice.
They're gonna run spice. They're not gonna
they're gonna run spice because the younger sister builds her own ship, and this is her first ship that she finally gets to like fly. So the older sister, of course, gets her into too much trouble because she gets mixed up with some bad dudes. And then while they're...
who were those bad dudes?
I forget the names.
Was it Crimson Dawn?
Yes, I think it was. Yes, you're right.
Because that leads into what we have later on, which was the leader of the Crimson Dawn, which leads into Solo. See, Dave Filoni, man.
I know he weave that web.
Yeah.
So she wants to run spice because it's going to be easy money for her, and then they can get off the course on it. And of course, then they find out that they're running spice, and Ahsoka, being the former Jedi, doesn't want to run spice. She wants to give this spice to people who could use it instead for real medicine.
Spice can be turned into medicine. I probably should have known that, but I did not.
Yes, it can be used for good or bad.
If bleach can be a cleaner and a medicine,
and a medicine, and
why
UV
can't
light, yes, why not spice? Yes.
This is where our legal department comes in and says, Banter, Beskar, and Bantha does not condone the use of bleach for any internal uses. Please consult a doctor.
If you think bleach is okay, then you have more problems than the fact that you're going to drink bleach.
By the way, I'm impressed with how quickly I said that. I've had a good amount of this already. So
that is impressive.
So obviously, what you should do in any situation like that is just take the illegal substance and dump it into the vacuum of space.
Dump it into space. Just get rid of it. Because if you don't have it anymore, then
problem solved.
Problem solved.
That will surely cause no trouble for anybody.
No trouble for anybody. Oh wait, what?
That's when It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia music comes on. Boom, boom, boom. Anyway.
That's not a good idea? Oh no. So then of course they get themselves into even more trouble. Then they get captured by the bad guys. Ahsoka starts using some of her Jedi powers while she also finds out that the other 2 hate the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so...
Which was interesting. So I don't know if you guys had the same reaction as I did when I was watching that, and she's got this hesitancy to use her Jedi powers. Is her hesitancy based upon trying not to use her powers in front of these 2 sisters that hate the Jedi? Or is it because she is so removed from all concepts of being supportive of the Jedi cause that she doesn't even want to use the training that the Jedi bestowed upon her?
Well, see, I didn't think about that, but with the way Star Wars is going now, because they're all about the cutting off your connection to the Force thing. You know how Luke cut off his connection to the Force while he was in hiding, and that's why he didn't feel Han's death and stuff like that. So I think it's possible. I think it's more probable that she was probably not wanting to like show her. She was probably trying to lay low. She wasn't a Jedi. She didn't want to be seen as a Jedi. She just wanted to live her own life, and anyone who sees her do Jedi things, all they think is, oh, it's a Jedi. So I think
and also
more of that.
I think also the fact that they were trapped, she knew that if the bad guys saw her using her Jedi skills, they would want to capture her, and even though she was already captured, but they would want to, there's bounty out on the use that.
They use that, So, to either like lure the Jedi into a trap or else use her knowledge or.
But I mean, going all the way back to the beginning of this arc with her, here's her speeder, it crashes and things like that, right? She, instead of, just being like, all right, my speeder's broken, and Jediing her way out of it. And
Yeah, she
landing
could have very
gracefully.
easily.
You know, she doesn't do that.
Mm.
However, as we get into the next arc, she has what I think is probably the coolest Jedi moment of all time, in my opinion, where she jumps, not to give anything away, and again, if you haven't seen this, please stop and go watch this before you continue this.
Yes.
She jumps out of the sky, and it's like, I don't need anything.
I don't need a jetpack.
I got this.
I got this. Here, you want this? Nah, I'm good.
And just leaps out of the sky.
Uh-huh.
And is absolutely fine. Like, not a hesitation of like, well, let me spot my landing spots where I want to hit on my way down.
I am one with the Force, and the Force is with me.
Yeah.
So she's like, I know I'm going to land on
this
whatever.
is the way.
She does that. It has no issue with that. But when it's my speeder is broken and just like 30 feet to the right is a wall that I could just, kind of jump onto, she's like, oh my God, I'm going to fall. So that's where I have a little bit of a question in terms of whether
either
or not
bad continuity or clever storytelling.
Yeah, I think it's kind of the clever storytelling where I think she is so anti using her Jedi powers that she's going to try to completely avoid them at all costs.
Yeah, she just wants to just be a normal person. She doesn't want to be a Jedi and die. If I die, I'll die, but I'd just rather be a normal person. But then when she does the jumping out of the ship, she's now surrounded by clone troopers. She's now in war. She's now in Jedi mode. And like, okay, now it's time for business. So now I'm not going to hide anything. I'm going all out.
You're right.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So yeah, but that's a conversation for 4 minutes from now when we get to there. Because I just want to rehash that entire 2 episodes because it was amazing. I want to push through these into the last 2 because what it does and what I love is it took my 2 favorite things about Star Wars, Jedi and Mandalorians, and it put it in this beautiful package for me. Because here we have the Siege of Mandalore. Right? It all kind of comes to a head at the Siege of Mandalore. And we find out that, Maul, who used to be Darth Maul, but obviously he's not a Sith anymore, so he's just been kind of going by Maul, is the leader of this crime syndicate, right? And we got a little bit of preview into that in Solo, but we get more of that now. And I love that they're taking everything from all these places and tying them in. I don't know if you saw the guest appearance in that little conversation, but there was a conversation with Maul where they had all these holograms around, and Dryden Voss was there. Dryden Voss.
Oh, I missed that.
Oh, yeah. They had a CGI Dryden Voss, who, if you watch Solo, was the face of the syndicate, whereas Maul was the real true leader of it. So that might be the earliest canon viewing we have of Dryden Voss. So we have Maul, who's the head of this crime syndicate, and he is basically manipulating a faction of the Mandalorians into starting this wide-scale conflict in order to lure the Jedi, in order to lure specifically Anakin. And it's the coolest too. Again, it should be viewed as one movie, the last 2 episodes. And it's better than some. I mean, I would rather watch those 2 episodes right now than some of them, because it's just, the storytelling is amazing. It's just great. So if we want to start, I don't even know how to start at the beginning of that. I have so many things I want to talk about.
Can we just back up 5 minutes and then get it right into that? Because at the end of the last story arc is where I wanted to get back into, at the end of Together Again, get back into the lazy writing again. So during Together Again, you see Mandalorians with hoods over their helmets. So they're Mandalorians, they're hiding, but they still have their masks. So they look even cooler. I really like that look. But they're following Ahsoka all around as she's trying to escape and getting captured and escaping again, and whatever the case is. Turns out it's Bo-Katan, one of the other leaders of Mandalore, which did in Rebels did what's her name give Bo-Katan the Darksaber? Is that who got the Darksaber? Was it Bo-Katan or was it her sister? Okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I think she got it eventually, but I think at this point Maul still has it.
Okay.
Right?
Right. I think Maul still has it. I know because Rebels.
I was surprised we didn't see it. I thought he was going to fight with it.
Yeah, I thought so as well. But this is where I thought this story, that whole middle story arc, I feel it's a little weak. she just finally like they pay off or they get away from the bad guys. They kill the bad guys, whatever. They get back to their space station, their little garage shop, and Ahsoka says, "Oh, we're back here," or whatever. And then Bo-Katan's standing right behind her, and she's like, "You need to come with me now." And I'm like, "Oh, I guess that's the end of that story arc, and we're moving on to the next one."
And then we don't see them again.
And then we don't see them again. And I'm like, really? Like, you couldn't have done anything better with that? Get a better transition there?
I kind of get why it makes sense, and the only reason I get why it makes sense is this. The way the story is told in the last 2 episodes is brilliant.
Yes.
Right? And
it is standalone.
Yes.
Yes.
But, so like, the last 2, so for those who haven't seen, the last 2 episodes take place during Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, we're talking about episodes 9 and 10.
The last 2 episodes, 9 and 10 of the season, takes place during Revenge of the Sith. And at certain times...
Because there's 2 more episodes to go.
Right. And there are times during that episode where you like check into the movie almost. It's like, oh, this is where we are in that movie. Oh, like at one point, Obi-Wan says, oh, Anakin just killed Dooku. Right. So like, oh, that's the point we're at. And so it's, I can almost understand it because like we saw the movie. And now we're seeing all this other stuff that's going on at the same time that we had no idea about until now.
So like, Ahsoka wasn't in the movie.
Right. But she, unbeknownst to, because they didn't know at the time, but unbeknownst to us, she played such a huge role in that movie without even being in it. So so I can understand how like, certain plot points just end because they have to go a completely different place. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't know how they would have made that less lazy, unless they included those characters in. But again, I think those were lazy characters, so they probably had no place to fit those into the last 2 episodes.
Right. So do you think those 4 episodes were just introducing Ahsoka again and her mental state of mind of I don't want to be a Jedi.
For sure.
I don't want to use my
and
Jedi
I think that's
stuff.
Fine. The actress who plays Ahsoka was mentioning, I think on Twitter or something, that there was some hate out there about these filler episodes, that like every episode should be jam-packed. First of all, that's not really how it goes. It's a CGI thing. With eight episodes, I kind of was hoping for a little more of that too, but it's a TV show. It's not a movie. You know what I mean? We got all we needed from that in the last 2 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
But the last 2 episodes wouldn't have mattered if it weren't for the setup of the preceding episodes showing us where Ahsoka's state was. You know what I mean?
Right. So you did need those filler episodes to see Ahsoka's state of mind. If we don't have those filler episodes, suddenly you just see Ahsoka. She's back with the clone trooper. She's back fighting with the Jedi. Why? How did she get here? We don't know any of that. So even though they were the filler fluff episodes, if you pay deeper attention to it, they're not as fluff as people are making them out to be.
I think sometimes people confuse fluff and filler with storytelling.
Yeah,
right? There's a movement of story.
There's one thing I wanted to point out, and I think it's pretty important. It's when Ahsoka first finds out from the sisters that they don't like the Jedi and why. Right. I think there's an important notion there that isn't really discussed previously in Star Wars.
Right.
And it's the fact that the Jedi, these wonderfully magical human beings that are and alien beings that are able to manipulate the laws of physics and space and time to do all these wonderful things. Not everybody is super stoked on that.
Yeah, exactly.
And a lot of people are envious of it. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people are not supportive of the Jedi in general. And there's not really necessarily a great reason for it. I'm sure if it boils down to it, even those sisters would be able to say, like, I understand why they were doing what they were doing. I didn't agree with how they went about it.
Right.
But at the same point, it shows that there's a big faction probably of the galaxy that isn't the leading classes or the armies that do not view the Jedi in such high regard. And that explains why when the Jedi are overthrown, that not everybody was like, hey, what the hell? I'm not okay with this. They would just be like,
Okay.
Knew it.
They're just like, all right,
and they were
yeah.
so easy to forget them too, because they were almost treated as a myth afterwards. And that's a pretty common theme in just storytelling anymore. Because like you talk about the Marvel universe, where we have Captain America Civil War, and it's like the one faction who wants them to be regulated because we see the collateral damage that they cause when they have these big scale conflicts. Oh great, the bad guy's dead, but so are these million people who were in these buildings.
Yeah,
that he destroyed.
and the $1 billion of damage that was done when Hulk threw somebody through these 14 buildings. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So it's almost philosophical, like what's the greater evil, I guess.
At what cost?
Also
at what cost, exactly.
Yeah. And it's interesting. I love how the storytelling has evolved, because I think back to when we were kids, everyone wanted to be a Jedi. Jedis were the greatest. We love Jedis. No matter what you had, if you had a wrapping paper core, you suddenly had yourself a lightsaber and you're beating everybody with this wrapping paper core.
I still do.
Oh yeah.
Don't act like you don't do that too.
Oh, totally.
I've got a Boba Fett blaster in that room over there. All right. I have no shame about that.
Yeah. So the fact that storytelling has evolved to now make you think more like, we look up to these, but maybe everybody doesn't, which is really cool. So that's now my official end to that story arc. And now Nick's eyes can get big and he can start telling everything that we learned in.
Again, I was one of those people too, I guess, who were like, oh, give me the action, because it played like a movie. And I'm a sucker for things that tie together. You know what I mean? I love, like, when I see something and I go, oh, that means that's what this was with Revenge of the Sith. You know what I mean? It was like, oh my God, this is happening at the same time. I can't, so I will watch Revenge of the Sith in a completely different way now, knowing this is happening over there.
Knowing all the stuff's going on in the background. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have, Ahsoka, who brings the Mandalorians to the Jedi, and she's like, listen, we need your help. There's this problem. And the Jedi do the Jedi thing. And they're like, we can't do that. It's not in our orders. We are robots with lightsabers. And so Obi-Wan says, I'm an old man. And I say, no, right? But Anakin is the guy. And he's like, you got it. I got your back. And not only do I have your back, here are your lightsabers back. Not only are here your lightsabers back, but check out these dudes who painted their helmets for you.
I know. Wasn't that awesome?
And it was like this show of respect. You know what I mean? It was really cool to see, like, again, she's a commander. She's not really a Padawan anymore. And because she's not a part of the Jedi Order, she's really not a Padawan anymore. She's the leader. She's the head honcho. So I thought it was really cool.
I love the lines during that scene when they were all saluting her.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, I'm not a Jedi. And he was like, to them you are. Yep. To them you're still our hero, or still a hero. You're still a leader, And then when they open up the doors and the whole battalion or whatever company, that whatever size it was, all had their helmets painted orange and they had a little bit of blue and white on. It was like, this is so cool. Like, they don't care that she left. To them, she's still one of them.
Yep. And what is Rex's line there when she says, "Don't call me Commander"?
All right, Commander.
All right.
Yeah, he says, "All right, Commander." Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I love that. It was awesome.
Perfect.
One of the funny lines from the last story arc, real fast, when the two sisters are mad at her when they find out that she's a Jedi, and she goes, "I'm not a Jedi. I left." I like both sisters go, "You can do that?"
Yeah.
So
right?
it was
Who knew?
Funny.
We didn't know that
you
either.
Could do that. You can leave. Yep. What? So yeah. Okay.
So again, we see these check-in points of here we are in the movie. Here we are in the movie. And so the first one was when Obi-Wan was talking to, I forget who he was talking to, but he mentioned that Anakin had executed Dooku. So that's huge. I mean, Dooku was one of the main protagonists of the entire series. And we get an off-camera death, right? It's not really an off-camera death, but that was our first, like, oh man, like they didn't like hint at that at all until we got there. I thought they might like hint at it, like they did kind of hint at it when they said, we got to go to Coruscant. There's a battle over Coruscant, but I thought they would slow play it. They went right
into it.
And
moving on.
And so we check in, and it was pretty clear. We get a little bit more of Obi-Wan's kind of thinking here. And Obi-Wan wasn't cool with what they were. I mean, I think we saw a little bit that he wasn't in the movie, but it was clear that Obi-Wan was not cool with what they were doing with Anakin.
Yep.
I mean, with
Right.
making him
Because
spy.
he also says in this at this time, he says Anakin's he's observing the Chancellor right now, and so he's like, yeah, he's on a special mission. He's observing the Chancellor right now, and you could tell that he wasn't happy with it.
But he even straight up said to
said something.
Ahsoka, he said, I don't always agree with the Jedi Council. He straight up said those words.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yep.
again, I think Obi-Wan was really conflicted at the same time too. But I mean, this was the Jedi Order at the very end, and the Jedi Order at the very end was everything you see in a good cause that has gone awry, right? They've lost their real purpose and their real focus, and so there's all this bureaucracy garbage that they're dealing with, and that's what leads to all this corruption. And I think Obi-Wan was seeing that. And I think if you really look at Obi-Wan's character, Obi-Wan was the archetypical Jedi. If you think of a Jedi Knight, and I think Obi-Wan might be the best Jedi of all time. You know what I mean?
Yes.
He was everything a Jedi had to be. He was in love with someone at one point, and he kind of forsook that, even though he still felt that love. And but at the end, he had all this heartbreak in his life. Anakin leaving him. He lost I forget what her name was, Bo-Katan's sister, right?
Right. Yeah.
But
you know what he didn't lose though? The high ground.
He never lost that high ground. He never lost that high ground. Not a time. He's a smart guy, that Obi-Wan.
But you know what? I don't think Obi-Wan would have volunteered that line of "I don't always agree with the Jedi Council" had it not been for him talking to Ahsoka. Right. And I think that's his apology to her.
Yeah, because he never. Yeah. I did find it weird because, you know, it wasn't that Ahsoka and Anakin were super close, and Obi-Wan was like, you know, he was just there. There were plenty of times in the Clone Wars where they were close to each other.
All three of them were,
and she must have felt
together.
Really betrayed by Obi-Wan in particular, because Anakin at least showed some, like, he wanted to bring her back, he wanted to keep her. But Obi-Wan is like the face of the Order. He's on the Jedi Council.
And he was like, "Look, this is the Jedi way. We can't do that. You broke the rules or whatever."
It was kind of a lame apology.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think it's the best he could do within his constraints of still serving the Order at the same time. I mean, it's what he had to say to his grand Padawan.
Exactly.
That's right.
His grand Padawan. I like that.
While we're talking about Obi-Wan, I just saw this. Somebody just posted this on Facebook this week, which really makes me laugh, about how much of a menace Obi-Wan actually is in the whole universe.
Okay.
He cut off was it Dooku? No, who's he cut off a whole bunch of appendages off of all different people. So
yeah, he cut off the guy's arm in the cantina.
Yeah.
He cut off a couple of Grievous's hands.
Yes, we don't know how many of Grievous's hands because he had so many.
He cut off Maul's lower body.
He cut off
Maul's legs.
Or upper body, depending on glass half full, glass half empty.
Somewhere down in the pits down there's just a pair of legs wriggling, like trying to find its lightsaber.
What
which
about
is what the new
Anakin?
Star Wars series
I mean, he cut off like 3 of Anakin's limbs.
Yeah. So somebody posted about how much of a menace. Limbs are not safe if you're around Obi-Wan Kenobi. Be very careful.
We have a guest star, guys.
Oh,
it's
look at that. We have a guest
It's a very exciting day. If you can't see us, we have a guest star. It's my bear, Nora. How you doing, Nora? She just wanted to say hi and give her opinion on the Clone Wars.
Obi-Wan.
On Obi-Wan.
And cutting off appendages.
That's right.
So you know, it's interesting that Obi-Wan is so well known in the universe compared to Anakin.
Right.
At least during the Clone Wars, because you know, Obi-Wan's doing some great stuff. He's like a great leader and stuff like that. But Anakin's doing the crazy stuff. Like, you know, you don't hear about like, oh, that's the tactician who was great at chess. You hear about the guy that like did the kamikaze moves 30 times in a row and always survived.
But to be fair, even Grievous, when he sees Obi-Wan, calls him the negotiator. Right, so he's known to be like the guy they call for like to the face on face, because he's such a he's kind of like you, Chris. He's charming, he's handsome, he's powerful, he's charismatic. Let's bring him in, right?
There we go. Yeah,
cutting off limbs and
wherever he goes,
breaking hearts and cutting off limbs one at a time. Oh boy, so we got to push forward here.
So I thought that was a little funny, a little side note there about Obi-Wan. As we're praising him so much, I just wanted everybody to remember who he really was. Who is Obi-Wan Kenobi? He's the limb cutter. Yes, let's get real.
Right.
He's the reason for all those posters on the wall in woodshop.
That's
That's
right.
right.
Beware of.
I've been
in case
teaching
of
shop
Obi-Wan.
for 9 years now.
For our listening people, Rob just pointed up some missing fingers. Anyway.
Some missing fingers. There we go.
Oh boy. So let's
really
figure out how we got to the end here.
Yes, I really liked Maul in these 2 episodes.
Maul's character is what, like, I know a lot of people, and I follow. If you don't follow Star Wars Explained on YouTube, go follow them. They're a great channel, and I've watched him for years. And his biggest thing that he just did not like in any Star Wars is bringing back someone from the dead. And I get that; it's kind of lazy,
Right?
but we would have missed out on so much if we didn't bring back Maul, because he was like the perfect, like, in episode 1. Again, it's all about improvements to, like, the prequels, I feel like, because we were introduced to Maul and he said like 7 words and he had a really cool fight scene and then he was chopped in half, and who cares, right? But then we have this show that if you haven't watched this show and you go and see Solo, you go, what happened? There's so much character development, and this guy who has been tormented for his entire life, you know what I mean? His life has been torment and training, and then his training became this apprentice, and then he was cut in half and discarded. And he went crazy in these caves with electronic legs and finally got himself out of there. And he got, like, his entire drive at this point is, this dude who broke me, who made me who I am, I have to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And, like, at any means necessary. And but that means at this point is killing Anakin Skywalker, because he knows that his master has been grooming him.
Yes.
So it's just, it's so crazy. Like, he's just this.
So while he's the bad guy, he's actually almost a good guy.
A good guy.
Yeah. So they both, him and Ahsoka, not that Ahsoka has the same plan, like Ahsoka doesn't want to kill Annie at this point in time, but they both want to save the world from Darth Sidious and his apprentice.
Yeah.
She doesn't know that his apprentice is Anakin, but Darth Maul does at this point. So it's awesome that he's the bad guy and the good guy all at the same time. Like, and
he gives this great Machiavellian speech at the end.
Oh, yeah.
About his views on the galaxy and where it's just so great. Like, he went from this silent, like, phantom menace, right? Which you could like argue in that which one is the Phantom Menace. Is it Darth Maul or is it Sidious? Probably Sidious. But to this, like, again, he's this almost charismatic leader of a crime syndicate with these grand ideals. He's like a Bond villain almost. You know what I mean? Like, who's been corrupted and driven insane by, I don't even know what by.
You know, it's very much like the
system,
Thanos. Like when we think about Thanos, and we're like,
100%.
When you hear, like, Thanos is like, I'm gonna wipe out half of all the population. And you're like, what? And he's like, because it's the only way that the universe is gonna continue to be able to exist. And you're like, oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like, well, if you put it like that.
So you understand, like, you don't agree with the method, but you understand the drive towards that method. And 100%. Because of that, you actually respect that character and you actually buy into that character a little bit more. And I appreciate that.
Yep. And we got to see, again, they expanded on what they've introduced so far as force powers as well. We saw more of the Kylo Ren mind reading that we hadn't seen until Kylo did it. Yeah. But now it's popping everywhere, right? Because Maul interrogated the clone using this stuff that Kylo loved to do. And then, I mean, there's a lot to talk about so far as Mandalorians. There was this whole big Mandalorian, and the Mandalorian fight was incredible.
Yep, Mandalorian fight, yes.
Again, it's so good. It wouldn't maybe have been so incredible for me if the Mandalorian didn't happen. But I am so all in on Mandalorians now. Like, when I see them, I'm just, like, thinking about, like, Kyle the Mandalorian, man.
Yeah.
He's right around the corner.
Are we going to see, because even now, Bo-Katan, all the Mandalorians, as soon as they're done fighting, take their helmet off right away, put their helmet back on again. Kyle and his clan refuse to take the helmets off. Do you think by the 12th episode that we are going to find out why Kylo's clan? Episodes? Well, we're at the 10th. This is 9 and 10.
Oh, there's more?
There's 2 more after this, yeah.
I honestly thought we were done.
No, there's 2 more after this, yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, so you get 2 more weeks of this awesome story writing.
Honest to God, I thought that was it. I mean, I would have been fine with it if that was it too.
And even like the opening of these 2
I do
episodes,
my research.
Everything about these 2 episodes were different than the previous 8 and all that good stuff. But yeah, so do you think that we're going to see a complete like transition into what we're finding out about the Mandalorian now?
I think we're good. I think they're gonna. I think that's what we're going for. I was
Okay.
expecting to see at some point, literally, that scene with Din Djarin. You know, when he's a child. I want
Okay.
to see them do that completely CGI. I want to see it like shot for shot. I
Yeah.
want them to completely recreate it. I don't want them to hint at it. I want it to be like, this is the Mandalorian right here. See, this is where it happened.
Although I
Because
just realized my flaw in my question, because Rebels happens after the Clone Wars. There's still
Oh, right.
big
Yeah, they haven't had the
Mandalorian
Siege of
stuff in
Mandalore
there.
yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So,
So
yeah, no, that won't happen yet.
so that won't happen yet. So there we
That
go.
was
So
a
I
nice
answered my
musing,
own
though.
question. Yes.
It's a nice music.
And we didn't need Chris texting us. Is it Chris, or who's your other buddy who always texts in?
Doug.
Doug.
It's not me.
Doug is our fact checker.
Yes, Doug is our fact checker. So
He's probably
Doug,
eagerly awaiting.
yeah, well, he was texting in the middle, and then I corrected myself, and he had a backspace all of his. He's like, oh, never mind.
Oh boy. So we have this Mandalorian, and this is during the craziness of this Mandalorian fight. This is where we have Ahsoka's like, I'm the shiz moment, where she decides to jump out of a plane.
Oh yeah, when they're all attacking.
What all did she do? She like.
She landed
took
on
down some planes, and she
jumped on a couple of guys' backs and broke their jetpacks as she jumped on their backs. Then jumped to another guy and then sliced him or something, and then landed on a plane.
What I like though is there's precedent for that, right? We've seen Anakin in like a movie jump out of his car and drop a whole bunch.
Yes.
Right. So we know that that's possible.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
We know that it's not something that is out of the realm of possibility. But Ahsoka did it with so much more style.
Yeah, did it with so much more style. And point out that when Anakin jumps out, Obi-Wan kind of rolls his eyes, and it's kind of like here he goes again, showing off, noting that he's probably the only one that can do that.
Yeah,
so he's the one who trained Ahsoka.
Yes, it's either that he trained Ahsoka in the way of doing this, or Ahsoka is incredibly powerful.
But he totally did. And I think that she is incredibly powerful. He totally trained, like you saw so much of his training. Like so spoiler alert, it ends with Maul and her fighting, right? In their fight, you get so many little quips, like little one-liners and zingers where it's like, yeah, that's Anakin, right?
Yeah,
like when she's like, you have Obi-Wan something or other, and she's like, you'll find I have a lot of qualities to dislike. It's like, yeah, that's Anakin. That's a Skywalker thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
Like she's more Skywalker than Rey is. Give me a break.
It's
Ahsoka Skywalker.
Yeah, it should be. Yeah.
Can we talk about the lightsaber fight?
Go to town. Oh yeah, it was amazing.
Because the lightsaber fight was probably the best I've ever seen. Like they need to do what they did for this for every single lightsaber battle going forward in CGI. Because if you didn't know, they did the motion capture. It wasn't just like we're gonna animate this. They did motion capture with Ray Park, who played Darth Maul in Episode 1.
Get out.
Oh yeah,
very nice.
As well as this girl Lauren Mary Kim, who is I've never heard of her, but a ridiculously talented stunt actress. So they straight up did the move, and you can tell if you watch this, there is
it's realistic. Yeah.
Between this fight and all the other the movements look, and this is again, as I was talking earlier about how like I didn't like the lightsaber fights. Every movement was really quick and cheesy. This was deliberate and like real.
Yeah.
And I've watched the lightsaber battle at least 5 times. I like found it on YouTube and I've just looped it over and over because like the movements are just so cool. And
the fact that they're fighting on essentially a balance beam.
And that the second half of that fight where they fall onto that balance beam is killer.
They're up there, they're above everything, and there is fear in both of them about falling. You can see that, and that's what I appreciate, that they're not just like, I am Jedi, I can do anything.
Well, they're both the Padawan. You know what I mean? It's Padawan versus Padawan almost. You know what I mean?
In fact,
and so
the episode is called The Phantom Apprentice.
The Phantom Apprentice, that's right.
Yeah, it's a great episode name.
Absolutely. But look, just talk about the cinematography of that fight. Like, that fight opens up, first of all, with Maul offering his hand to Ahsoka, just like Kylo.
Yep.
Like join me. And Ahsoka says, okay. She says, okay, let's do it. But before she says, okay, that explosion and that glass and the camera just panning around them and like they don't flinch or anything. It's just glass, an explosion flying towards them, and just like standing there still. It was amazing. And that camera angle. The only thing that makes her say no is that she refuses to believe that her master can be the apprentice to Darth Sidious. She refuses to believe, like she was ready to go. All right, Darth.
All right, let's go.
Well, let's go. You and me, let's kill
go.
this guy. And then he's like, yeah, Anakin's a bad guy. Nope. Let's go.
No,
you
I'm out. Anakin's my boy.
Let's have the best duel ever. And they do.
Even like as they're going back and forth on the balance beam, there was like one scene where they got to like an intersection of where like 4 or 8 balance beams get together, or like the beams in the ceiling get together, and you see like so well thought out. Like the feet were on 2 beams, and it wasn't cheesy. It wasn't like you said, they're not like, I'm Jedi, so I can just do whatever I want. Like, you could tell that they were worried about their footwork. You could tell that they were making sure that when they were attacking, they knew where they were going and all this stuff. It was so awesome.
And that does 2 things. Number 1, it makes it a little more realistic. You know what I mean? And number 2, it makes them seem like, more powerful. Like they're using this training, and they're really concentrating. I don't know. It was the coolest fight scene I've seen in Star Wars. I loved it.
And even at one point when the clones are on the ground, and I guess they defeated the other Mandalorians at one point, and Rex or somebody looks up, and you see from a distance, you just see the 2 lightsabers or 3 lightsabers glowing, and they're fighting, and you can tell how high up they are when they're doing this.
The last shot of the episode where Ahsoka's just looking up, and you see just the sea of desolation and destruction underneath her. Again, I don't know how you praise cinematography in a animated series. I guess that's just animation.
Yeah,
the animation is out of this world good.
It's amazing.
It's just nuts, and it's really cool, especially that shot I was talking about with them, like him holding his hand out, because not only is it just like, that's crazy, they're both apprentices, but like the symbolism, it's like, it wasn't really Maul asking Ahsoka to join the dark side. And it wasn't Maul asking Ahsoka to join, it wasn't them trying to, it was just saying, let's team up. Here is
we have
a Jedi, a former Jedi, and a former Sith. 2 people who used to belong to factions that have been warring for thousands of years. And they're in one room reaching out to each other about to join. I just think that's such an incredible intersection. And again, that's almost more important than some of the stuff, like some of the things that are happening galactically with the Skywalkers. You know what I mean? Like, and we have now seen this.
I will say I'm excited that that she didn't join him, and I would be a little upset if she does end up joining Maul in these next 2 episodes, because it seems to happen a little bit too easily and frequently throughout Clone Wars and Rebels even. Where it's like, you're the bad guy, I'm the good guy, let's team up. Okay. And they just go right into it, like a little bit too easy. Like when we see Maul again in Rebels, they team up, and it's like, oh, you just screwed me over last time, but let's team up again. Okay. It just happens so easily. There was no weight in this moment, and I don't want it to be lost. To
be fair, we also saw a guy murder a whole bunch of people, and then and his father, and then at the end of the movie, he wore a T-shirt, so he was cool again, and so now let's kiss, right? So there's precedence for that too. There he is, right? The shrug. To those listening, Chris just did the shrug handsomely.
Also, ow.
But so there's precedence for that in Star Wars, with teaming up with the bad guy, even though he killed a bunch of people. But so anyway, so we have this former Jedi, this former Sith who team up, and again, it's all just a ruse to lure Anakin. Maul knows that Anakin is the desire, or the object of Sidious's desire, and he's hoping by doing this he can get Anakin to come here and he'll kill Anakin. Now, during the fight, Ahsoka even says, it's a good thing I came. Anakin would have destroyed him. I mean, if we know that Anakin is the chosen one and he trained Ahsoka, there's a pretty good chance Anakin would have gotten there and just like crushed him with his hand. And if you see any of the new media of Darth Vader, they're really playing up how powerful Anakin is.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So he's right. It's a good thing that Anakin didn't go there. But and then it ends with
even if we go back to like episode 9, when when Ahsoka first they're chasing him down in the sewers, chasing Maul down in the sewers, and Maul, they get Ahsoka. She's trapped in the middle of like a 4-way sewer, whatever. There's
with
Mandalorians
the
in 3 ways. The Death Watch is all surrounded her, and then she turns around, and then here's Maul. You see the red lightsaber or whatever. I forget how he comes out of the Force side, and he's like, "Who are you?" And then he's like, I don't want you. I want Obi-Wan." And he's like, Where are they? Why'd they send you here? And she's like, "Well, they sent me instead." And they do a real small lightsaber battle, and then he just like brushes her aside. He's like, "Not now." And he just goes and just pushes her against, and then he runs away. And it's like, oh, this is such foreshadowing, because you see that something even more, another battle's going to come, because she's not happy that she got defeated so easily. You know that the next time that they meet is going to be even better.
And
again, this plays into my concept theory that she's been trying to push aside her Jedi powers a little bit and distance herself from them. Because yeah, she did her cool jumping out of the sky thing, and that was pretty damn badass. But there are other levels besides incredible aerial acrobatics to being a Jedi, and the fact that Maul is so easily able to just go and shove her aside, yet she's able to come back and defeat him in battle. That means that she finally has to, like, in my head, she has to be like, you know what, I have to embrace everything. I can't
I'm committed.
Pick what I'm going to use. I have to fully commit to all of my training.
But I think that's what makes her like such a good, I guess you can't call her a Jedi anymore. Ever since, for years, there's been this term thrown around called gray Jedi, right? The Knights of the Old Republic is one of the earliest mentions of like gray Jedi. And there's this character, Jolie Bindo, who's this old hermit who lives in like the sewers of, I think, Taurus. And he's like, used to be a Jedi, and he like left. And that was like one of the earliest times we hear about a Jedi leaving. And they're called gray Jedi. And he was all about balance, and he like used some good and some bad. And I think that's something that they're exploring more too in the new Star Wars, is this idea of balance and using good and bad. And they were exploring that with Kylo Ren. And I think that's what made Ahsoka such a great fighter. And like, you even see that she comes back and she like, the Jedi way isn't to kill, but she comes back and says, Obi-Wan was right. You are hard to kill. Like, she's trying to kill him. You know what I mean? She isn't a bad person, but she's also not anymore restricting herself to the code of the Jedi.
Right.
Is something that she's using to her advantage. And you see that later on too. And I'm wondering if we're going to see her lights, because she lost her lightsabers, but we see her later in Rebels and her lightsabers are pure white. So I'm wondering where we get that, if we're going to see a story behind why that's the thing. Because that seems like a pretty neutral color to me. You know what I mean? It's a statement to have a white lightsaber, and after having all that. So she's such an interesting character. You know what I mean? They did such a good job with her, and that's, you know, Dave Filoni. I hope he does everything from now on. Absolutely everything.
And the good news is, Mandalorian season 2, we're going to see her live action too.
That's what I hear. I'm very excited about it.
Yeah,
I'm excited but scared. I'm scared because
I don't want to lose her.
Yeah. Also, you know, The Mandalorian is such a great series, and we note that because it's separate from everything. And while I'm excited to see her in live action for the very first time, at the same point, I don't want her to be just like a transient character that just like walks in. Like, if anything, I want it to be like, oh, and she shows up in the final episode of the season because there's a new spin-off, the Ahsoka series. Like, that's what I want to see. Frasier. I don't want to see just like a little drop of her and go, oh, here, that's enough. That's what you get.
I'm actually currently watching Frasier, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it's a great show. If you haven't watched Frasier, the best spinoff of all time until the Ahsoka Tano series. That will be the best spinoff
of all time. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, and then we end with Maul getting captured and essentially being angry that the weirdest thing about dark side users and Sith is that they don't want to die. Like, the whole reason for their quest for power and stuff is that, like, theoretically, there's no afterlife for a dark side user, right? So they're trying their best to hold on to life. Like, that's the whole thing, their quest for life. That Sidious is trying to like live forever. Maul wants to die. He's like, no, why don't, like, let me die. He's like, I think he's just in a constant state of agony, and his brain is all messed up, that he's just like, I don't want this anymore. And so I'm really excited to see what they do with Maul, because they're clearly not done with him. If he's still around a little before, like while the Empire is going on, he's pretty clearly still, and we don't see him. I mean, I don't want to spoil anything for Rebels here, but he's clearly still around several years into the future.
Yeah, when Rebels comes back, he's or when Rebels comes on, he's there again. Yeah.
So what's the timeline for Rebels within the cinematic movies?
It's between Clone War, before, I think it's before Solo, and after Revenge of the Sith.
Darth Vader is in Rebels,
right?
So we know about.
So I think it's a couple of years before like A New Hope.
But it's also like I'm watching.
Doug, let me know. I'm too lazy to Google it.
I'm at the last season right now, or for the second time, and they're talking about how this is how a rebellion starts. It starts small and then it builds up. So it's probably right around the same time as, like right before Episode 4. Like it leads up into Episode 4. So what the Rogue One, like right around the same time as Rogue One, because Rogue One is also like the start of it. What's her name? The Admiral, the female leader of the rebels.
It's not Organa, but Mothma.
Yeah. So she's big in it at the very end.
Yeah.
So it's like right around the start of like Episode 4. Like it almost leads right into Episode 4, same way that Rogue One kind of definitely leads right into it with them capturing the plans for the Death Star. So they do talk about, building these giant superpowers. And in one of the episodes, the Empire finds a giant holocron, which is like 20 feet long, and they're like, what do you need that much power for? That's building a giant weapon, kind of like hinting at the Death Star or something along those lines. So It's definitely like around in that time, because we know about Darth Vader and whatever. So yeah.
Long and short of it is, if you haven't seen these episodes, we just spoiled them for you. Go watch them.
We did. Go watch them.
They're outstanding.
And if you've seen them, go watch them again.
Yeah. And if you've done that, go back and listen to all of our shows, because we need more listens, and tell your friends, right? Because we do have to wrap it up. But
Nick,
do want to make
before we do, I just want to note those 2 episodes coming up.
Okay.
The names of the 2 episodes coming up are Shattered, and then the final episode is Victory and Death.
Oh.
Yeah. See again, I didn't do the proper research, because that's who I am. Somehow I got 4 college degrees. Don't ask me how. But I left going, I was expecting to see Order 66. But you can guarantee we're going to see Ahsoka side of Order 66, and that is something they're doing a lot. I think I mentioned earlier with the Jedi Fallen Order, we see Order 66 from a different point of view, but I think it's going to be particularly. We might see it in Shattered. I think we might see it because Shattered, to me, like, I think Ahsoka is going to be shattered by this. You know what I mean? Like, I think this is going to be something that's really tough for her.
Yeah, now that she knows that Maul told her that Annie is going to be the ultimate bad guy, and he's being trained by Darth Sidious.
Right, but do we know? Because I think when we see Ahsoka in Rebels, she doesn't know that it's Anakin, or has heard it's Anakin and doesn't believe it's Anakin or something.
Believe it.
Yeah.
Because I remember something about that. So I don't know if that'll be, but she's going to be. But those clones painted their masks for her yesterday.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That was this big sign of respect and this big watershed moment for her. For them tomorrow to like, all right, well, we got to kill her now. That's going to be like, that's going to really change her. And I'm wondering how, because we're going to see her later. I'm wondering how this is going to affect her mindset. You know.
But how many of the clones removed their chip? Because we know Rex did.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that it's been that was a storyline earlier in Clone Wars, that whole thing. So that's
we
my
see
big
Rex
question.
later. So I'd imagine we're gonna see Rex somehow come to save Ahsoka.
Yeah,
that's my guess. Because I think canonically speaking, Rex is at the Battle of Endor.
Yeah.
So Rex is in it for the long haul.
Yeah.
So I think we'll see something.
Do you think we're going to see any of the Bad Batch come back in the last 2 episodes?
I don't think so.
They've all been modified, so I wonder if they don't have the chips in their head also. Maybe they come back and help out somehow.
Wouldn't that be
and
interesting if the Bad Batch and Rex came to save Ahsoka somehow? Or
yeah, that would be pretty cool.
The sisters,
Yeah,
the sisters
fly in and get her out of there.
And then see last episode of The Mandalorian season 2, we get all of them come down for a big party.
Big party.
All of them, Raph and it's just a big party. It's gonna be great. Trace,
Chewbacca's even there. He's patting little Ewoks on the head. It's awesome.
For some reason, Anakin shows up and everybody's too drunk to notice.
Right.
And they're like, "Yeah,
hey,
Jar Jar's there, and everyone leaves. Anyway, so it was great. Watch the show. We have to wrap it. It's been an hour and a half.
It's been hour.
Honest to God, I could keep talking another 2 hours. I have to try and push myself forward when we're doing these things. So if you've made it to the end, and I think Chris makes it to the end of most of ours, so I appreciate that.
He does.
I know there's at least some of you who do, so I appreciate that.
Yes, so thank you. Yeah. Yes, tell a friend.
Yes, tell your friends.
My bladder made it this time.
I know Chris is probably sitting there like, all right, hurry up, guys, come on.
I know Chris didn't even have to pee.
That's all right. Chris and I might play some Apex Legends after this anyway, so there you go.
Definitely.
May 4th, big episode.
May 4th.
Super episode on May 4th.
With the super show. That's right.
Super show.
We're going to be ranking our favorite movies, and mine might have just been shaken up.
Yes. You did post on Facebook that your movie list has changed, and people were very confused.
That's all right. I confuse people all the time.
That's okay.
It's my lot in life.
So that's that. So
I have officially just about finished my drink. So
perfect.
Thank you, Chris, for joining us once again for episode number 2. He'll be back on May 4th for episode number Trace.
Yeah.
And please catch us on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook. We've already mentioned our social medias. You should remember them by now.
Watch this all on YouTube.
Watch this on YouTube. It will be uploaded to YouTube. Comment, subscribe. It's actually Rob's on the bottom, so yeah, it's below Rob.
Yeah, so down here, subscribe right here, and make a comment over here.
That's right. Send us an email.
Chris is looking for it.
Send us an email. Ask us questions. Send us drink recipes.
Yes.
Send us your thoughts on how handsome Chris is and how not handsome we are, and that's fine too. We'll take all fan mail.
We'll take any mail, good or bad. We're like Madonna. Negative press is still press.
All press is good press.
Fine. That's right.
But we've had a good time. Anything else, gentlemen?
Have.
For the good of the order? No?
Nope, I'm good.
Well, then I will tell you. This is the way.
At 1 hour
this
and
is
11
the way.
minutes.
Oh, did it stop?
It stopped at 1 hour and 11 minutes for some reason.
Well, if you're watching it on YouTube, then you're watching the full version.
You get the full version on YouTube.
Oh, you gotta include a little thing on the bottom of that says says, hey, for the rest of this episode, catch us on YouTube. We can make it a thing. Anyway, from all of us at Bantha Milk Podcast, this is the way.
This is the way.